Good morning everyone, and welcome back to Craft Eccentricity, and I hope you all had an absolutely awesome weekend. We are in September, yes we are. Let's not talk about the time, shall we? Let's not even talk about the month. Right, I am up with Eiffel store and 3 dies I'm using today. Now I said last week that I was going to show you how you layer up the pumpkins to get a sort of really characterful face in them. Yeah, try saying that at this time in the morning. And also we're going to do the gnome. Right, what have I got in my hand? Right, pumpkins. These are the pumpkins. As you can see, they cut out. So I'm going to show you how you do those to get great faces. I did do this over the weekend because somebody asked to see it, and that is the Halloween cup. And I think on the website it's kind of like muddy browns and khaki green, and I decided to do pink and purple. And this is the gnome that we're going to be using, and I've cut it apart because I've tried to be organised, so I've already got quite a few bits cut out, and it's the gnome that is like sweeping and like bashing about at these bats. So let's move those out of the way. Right, so first up I did the cup, and this is the little cup. It is really sweet, and I love the marshmallow skulls that are floating around in whatever kind of drink it is in there. So I just wanted to do that to show you you can do it in whatever colour you want. You could do the spiders if you wanted to, and the drink in sparkly silver glitter paper, and that would also look awesome. But now that it's made, I can measure it. So let's do that. And I did do it according to the website. So if I go from the skull to the base of the cup, I'm going to say it's 3 1/4 inches finished, and then the width of it is 2 3/4. So, you know, if you've got that dangling on a lovely bit of Halloween twine from a gift bag or something like that, or obviously you can use it on a card. You could add a gnome there or any other characters that you wanted to, and maybe just a sentiment like spooky treats or something, so you could have all of your candies and stuff going around it on the card. Right, so that is that one. Right, so what we're going to be doing first of all is the pumpkins. So I'm just moving my little array of gnomey stuff off to one side. Now I have cut myself a card base, so we are going 5 by 5 today, and my camera's a bit wobbly, so I do apologise. And the paper that I've used is Designs by Danny, which is Snap Click Supply, and it's a kind of chicken wire, but I love this because my gnome, who's got a broom and he's swooshing away at the bats, can also be swooshing away at that little spider and trying to clear it. So I've already done the background, so it's a sheet of that cardstock that I printed and glued just to a sheet of black cardstock. Right, move that one out of the way, and now our pumpkins. Now when you want to create a pumpkin with character, you need 3 layers. And your base layer should always be the darkest layer, so it doesn't matter what colour you want to do your pumpkins, make sure you do that. So here is one of them, and I hope you can see that, and these are my base layers and they're black. So for example, if you wanted to do your pumpkin completely orange, a darker orange, then a mid orange, and then a light orange on the top. Now the important thing to do when you cut your 3 layers is that your base dark layer maintains all of its features. So you don't want the eyes, whoops, or the mouth or the nose to come out. So you can see double-sided tape just on the back to keep those in position, and I have done that on all 3. So once you've got your solid dark background, your 2 top layers, then your mid and your light, are always going to have apertures in them. So for example, we're going to put the white now on top of the black, and you can see you've got your shadow there, and they will always come together and be glued perfectly, just like that. So that is directly on top of the black. But when you put your orange top layer on, you need to shift it. So whichever way you want the light to come from. So for example, straighten up your I don't know what you call that, the stem of the pumpkin, and then you've got the shadow layer. So you can actually hold that and you can swing it around and you can move it in whichever direction that you want to. So you might want a little bit more white over to there. I actually like the idea of white coming from the right, and as you begin to move it, you start to see where you need to trim. So that little bit of white stem up there needs to go away, and then of course I've got to trim a little bit off the base. So let's do this one and then I can run away and finish the other two. So as I was saying, onto your dark layer, if you're using white, if not, then whatever shades you're choosing, could be totally orange pumpkin or a totally purple or pink one. So you want to align this one perfectly straight down on the top. So get that all squared up and stuck down. That will be your base layer. I'm making sure that's stuck. Moving excess glue. There we go. So I hope that's showing up. Right, so white straight down onto the black. And now for my orange layer, because I know that I need to shift it to get that kind of shadow, have a look at where everything is. Right, I like that. So once you know you like that, get a little bit of glue and secure it just in the center. Just flip your pumpkin forward, and I'm just going to put it just in that head section. Press that down. I'm just going to let that little blob of glue there dry, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we glued it right here where it's not going to interfere with anything else. All the rest is not glued. So when you hold it together, you can see now where you need to cut. So it's not glued, so I can just get my scissors right in there, and it doesn't matter how much you remove as long as you're not interfering with any of the facial apertures. So we've got rid of the white down at the bottom there, and I'm looking at the side and there is a little bit there, so I'm going to trim that off. So you have to remember, these are going to be glued down. Nobody's going to see your inner workings. Now this is still hanging free because we only put a glue dot here. So I can now go into there, and if I wanted to remove the whole thing then I could, but I'm just going to snip off an edge. So now we've got a pumpkin that's got a wonderful character face. So we've got some light. Now the other two, while I was away, I've got a little piece here that I don't like, so I'm going to cut that off. Right. Now the other two, I glued just the white straight onto the black. Now I want to show you this because sometimes it kind of like depends on the facial character as to where you move your piece. So with this one, I moved it so that my orange was going over to the right, so I'd got some white highlight there. But on this one, if I place that on, you'll see you need to move your pumpkin up. See that? So I'm going to apply glue in the nosy section and cut the bottom off. Now on this one, you want your white coming from the left. So let's get that positioned correctly. I need to get that in my hands and move it slightly. There you go. So that you can see on this one, when I position it correctly, is going to need more trimming. I haven't done that right at all. It's going to need more. Whoops. I don't edit my videos. I want you to see my errors. I think I got that right. Is going to have trimming at the bottom, and if you look at the stem there, it's going to have trimming on the left, so that way you're creating different kinds of character faces. So I'm going to glue and trim, and then I'm going to come back, and then we're going to do the gnome. Right, so there's our little pumpkins all glued and done, and they've got, you know, three-dimensional character faces now. I've got my white gel pen, and you can just go in and add other little details like his eyes. Now if I'm covering this up, I do apologise. Just want to make sure that I'm getting in the right place. So he's got a couple of little eyes now, and I think I'm gonna go there for him. And I'm hoping oh, I need to get closer. So he's got a couple of little eyes, and he's totally going to be looking over in this direction. So I hope that I've got them straight. Who knows when I'm not able to see exactly what I'm doing. So anyway, those are our little pumpkins that now have great characterful faces. Right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to bring in our gnome. So I'm just moving those off to the side, and here is our little gnome. Now there are pieces that I've cut out and done already. So the broom, I cut 2 pieces and glued them together because I just wanted it to be a thicker looking broom. Let's see if we can get a clear picture. There we go. So I wanted that to have a little bit of detail, and while I'm thinking about it, I'll get my white gel pen, and I just want to do a little line across there. So I've got a little highlight on my broom, and that is complete. So I'll just put that there with my pumpkins. Now the bats take no work at all. They're just cut out of black cardstock, and I've got all bits of glue on my paper. Now the hat comes as a solid piece, and then you get the stripes. So all I've done with mine is glue it together. I used a little bit of white pencil and a little bit of white gel pen, and I also used some of my chalk to kind of like tone down the black on the hat. I wanted it to be a bit more grey. Now if you look on the website, it's actually purple and black, and the reason I didn't do that is because if you take away the bats and you just have the broom, rather than, you know, your gnome sort of like bashing at the bats in the air, if you point it downwards, then you've also got an autumn gnome who's sweeping up his autumn leaves. So, you know, this one is dual purpose. And of course, if you do it yellow and black and you take away the broom, if you've got any little honeybees, then you've also got a little honeybee gnome. So you can, you know, just change the character on them. So I've got his face and his beard that I haven't done, but I did do his little shoes, and once again just a little bit of chalk and pen on those just to highlight them. Just brush that glue off, and then these little bits here are sleeves, so we're going to have to glue into those. This is the nose, and these pieces here are the hands. So I am going to colour with chalk, but first of all, I'm going to do the beard. Now, the beard on the website is very sort of grey and distressed looking. Now, if you're somebody who watches me often, then you know I like my Jane Davenport chalks, which are these. This one is the chilled set, and I'm using the grey, and I use these blenders. You can get them on the Jane Davenport website, or you can get them from AliExpress. And I will put a link below. Now, to start with, I know that there's going to be more shade down here. Now, remember when you're using chalks, you can go as heavy or as light as you want to. So all I've done there is casted a shadow. Is that a word? Casted? I'm sure it is. Somebody's going to tell me if it's not. Just around the outline of his beard. And I'm just blending that in. Now you should be able to see that stand out from its chalky background. There we go. I'll move that out of the way. So he's got a nice bit of shade and shadow. Now these other bits are also in shadow. So what I do for that is I put chalk onto the very tip. You see that? So I normally use the flat, but if I'm doing a line, I use the very tip. And it's really lovely using chalks. It's just so easy on your hands. And you can push it in to those areas, just highlight them some more. And of course you can blend it off if you've put too much. So you can see there, we've got shadow. So I'm just getting a little bit more and I'm going to run that down there. I mean, this stuff is so soft, it just doesn't hurt your hands. And then I'm going to give that a rub. And hopefully you can see the shading on his beard. Now, if you look on the website, his beard is, you know, rather crazy looking. And I didn't want to go that crazy because I kind of like the idea of a cute gnome. Right, so I've got that in and there's very little left on here. And I'm just going to scoot it over the surface. And then I think I'm just going to leave it at that. I think that's got enough. It doesn't really show up on camera until you kind of like put it against a white sheet of cardstock and then you start to see that it is grey. So we've done that one. And next up, I'm going to use my birthday suit chalks, which are all of the flesh tones. And we're going to give him a light flesh tone on his hands and his nose. Now, it's entirely up to you which colours you choose. I'm going to go for this creamy one here, which I haven't actually used yet. And that's not like me. So just move the little hands out of the way. You can just hold it down and then just blend it. These chalks are great for doing gingerbread, especially the birthday suit, because it's got all of the colours that you could ever need for doing gingerbread. And you can just keep going in and grabbing a little bit of chalk until you get it exactly how you want. Don't be afraid of it, because if it's too dark for you, you can just knock it back with your fingers and make it paler. So we've got his little hands. That's also a hand, the little round piece. And then, of course, his nose. Right, I'm quite happy with that. Might not look like much at the moment, but we're going to put it together. So I'll move those out of the way, and somewhere around here I did, there it is, my pickup tool, which is extremely useful. So I'm just going to slide this out of the way, grab his hat and his beard. I've got his little feet here, so we're going to put those down. We've got little sleeves. I'm pretty sure that they go that way around. The nose is going to glue onto there. That's the little hands that goes for the sleeve, and that one there. I'm also going to move my bats up here. And then I'm going to move that sheet of paper. Right, so we can see that his nose goes onto here, but his nose goes on after the hat. So you kind of have to get them in the right order. So that's going to go onto there. Now you can see that it's got an embossed line. Let's get in. An embossed line all the way around there that matches the line of the hat. So you want to get your glue on and then your hat on, just like that. So I'm going to hold it in that position because I think I got it correct. And I'm just going to flip it over and pop a little bit of glue under there and give it a squeeze. Do the same on that side. I mean, you don't have to pull them apart again once you know you've got them in the right place. It's just a matter of getting a squidgy of glue. So there we now have the hat to the beard. Now we can see where the nose is going to go, but the nose is partially onto the hat. So I'm putting my glue partially on the hat and not into that nose area, because the nose is actually floating above. So using my pickup tool, lining it up with that embossed part that you can see underneath before I just covered it up, you can see that the nose goes to the hat. Right, the next bit is the shoes, and they just get glued in like that. So I'll quickly glue those and come back. Right, so he's done, and the next bit is the arms and the hands. And as I showed before, there's little embossed points that you can move those to. So that one is going to go on top of there, just like that. And then we've got this one. Now this arm actually fits in with the curve of the beard, so you can quite literally see where it's meant to go, and it goes on that curvature point there. There is very, very little, there you go, of that one that sticks out. So my suggestion is to get your glue down and move your gnome into position, so on that beard curve there, and give it a press. So there's his little arm, and then he's got a little hand. So make sure you scoot that the right way around. So I think I've got a blob of dry glue on my paper. So that little hand is going to go there. So I can see that. And it's always easier to pick the big bit up and take it to the small bit than it is to take the small bit to the big bit. And I have got videos that show you how to paper piece to make life easier for yourself. So there we go, you see the big bit went over to the small bit. Now this piece is different because it's going to be holding the broom, and we don't know yet how high up he's going to be holding that broom because it's entirely up to us, and because I cut this specific background. So I know that my gnome is going to be on here, and I kind of want him bashing at the spider web, or at least kind of pointing in that direction of the spider web, so that it's noticeable, if you know what I mean. Yeah, kind of like that. And then it's up to you then where you have your broom. So where will his hand go? Yeah, I think about there is about right. So first of all, I'm going to glue my broom. No, I'm not. I'm going to glue the hand. So I'm putting a little blob of glue just there. I'm going to pick his handy bit up. Ooh, Sometimes chalk doesn't allow you to pick stuff up. So there's another point to remember. I'm going to go there. And then before that is completely dry, I'm going to put that there. Right, so I'm going to need a little bit more glue just to seal the deal. There we go. So that is our Nomi all done. And of course you can put a lovely sentiment on this. So our Nomi is swatting at those. I've got my big pumpkin and my medium pumpkin, and I want to be able to see all these because they're just so characterful. And then I've got my little one. So as you see, that is how I'm going to glue it, and then of course just need to put the bats up there. I'll be right back. Right, I've got those bits glued down, but I've decided I want these bits on foam tape so that they're elevated. So I'm going to have those around there, I think. I'm just going to peel the back off my foam tape. And stick that one down. It's about there. Do the same on this one. And then we've just got our bats to do. So the biggest bat obviously is the one that would be closest to you. Kind of deciding where I want them. Yeah, I kind of like that. And then there's space there for a sentiment, or space along his little feet there for a sentiment if I wanted to. So how you see those, that's how I'm going to glue them, and I'll be right back. Right, so that's all nicely glued down, and I'm just grabbing my gel pen, and I just want to put a little highlight on his nose. Might not be able to see it clearly, but I can see it. Right, there is our cute little Halloween Nomi, our pumpkins with characterful faces, and our lovely little spider up there. Still space for a sentiment, a boo or a eek, and exactly the same down there. See how close we can get. There we go. Right, I thank you so much for joining me today. I am up tomorrow with a small design team haul from Mango Craft, which includes some rather unusual Halloween, and we're going to be making from that straight away. There's also a stamp set that I need to test, so we'll do all that tomorrow. And then we have a huge haul from KS Craft coming the day after that. Once again, have an absolutely awesome day, and as usual, all links below. Bye.